as European tensions rose, along with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, leading to the July Crisis, World War I begins. It is truly a world war, one of the most deadliest wars ever on the planet. More so, we watched innovation of weapons be more effective killers than ever before. So what we're going to take a look at today is we're going to take a look at the history of World War I guns. Not just any guns, but the service rifles and the sidearms of the soldiers in the trenches of World War I. The Central Power, being primarily led by Germany, was heavily armed with sidearms like the revolver model 1879 or the revolver model 1883, firing the 10.55 millimeter. The model 1883 was heavily issued to the Prussian army, but it was the semi-automatic P08 Luger that dominated the sidearm of the Central Powers, firing the 9mm. The Austro-Hungarian army was armed with the model 1898 revolver, firing the 9mm, made in Wolfenfabrik Leupold in Gasser, Vienna. Also armed with the Ross-Steyr model 1907, semi-automatic, firing the 8mm. This heavily armed the Austrian cavalry. The standard German service rifle was either the Guar 88, firing the 7.9mm, adopted in 1888 under the German Commission. But most of them were probably armed with the Guar 98, firing the 8mm Mauser. Austro-Hungarian Army's service rifle was the Mannlicher model 1895, firing the 8mm, which is a straight pull rotating bolt, extremely innovative for its time. The Turkish army was armed with the model 1893 Mauser, also referred to as the Spanish Mauser, firing the 7.65mm, made in Oberndorf, Germany. Bulgaria was using the Austrian-made M95 8mm. Heavily armed with an array of bayonets for trench warfare. The sidearm of the Allied powers are in many ways same, but in many ways very different. France was using the model 1892. It's a 6-shot revolver firing the 8mm. Italy's sidearm was the model 1889 revolver, historic firearm from the Rhodesione Bordeaux. This is a 6-shot revolver firing the 10.35mm. Also armed with the Gilsenti model 1910 semi-automatic 9mm 7-shot. Belgium's sidearm was the model 1908, firing the 7.65mm. And the U.S., of course, was using the Colt 1911. Allied forces also had some of the greatest service rifles ever made during the time. The biggest being the English Lee Enfield, firing the 303 Brit. There was over 17 million of these made. U.S. forces, being short on the Springfield 1903, used a lot of Lee Enfields. But England also used the Martini Henry, a pattern 1887, firing the 450. U.S. forces had the Springfield 1903 5-round, firing the 30-06, as well as the Winchester 1895 lever gun, firing the 7.62mm, the Winchester Model 17 trench shotgun, as well as the machine gun, the Browning Bar. Japan, being friends of the Allied forces, were armed with Model 1896 Type 20s. And the Belgians brought in the 1889 Mauser, made by Fabrique Nationale in Herstal, Belgium, which is a 5-shot magazine-fed 7.65mm bolt rifle. And France being one of the biggest producers of bayonets for the Allied forces. And in the end, there was over 10 million killed, over 20 million wounded, and 8 million civilian casualties. These are some of the greatest firearms still to date ever made. As evil always shows its ugly head, good must always rise against it. And it's guns like the firearms used in World War I that allow us to do that. Thank you for watching this episode of The History of Weapons, and don't forget to click the subscribe and the bell button.